Hey everyone. All right, we're gonna wrap up this video. It's been a long day, long drive home. It's about 28 hours total of me just pulling over and falling asleep. And like I said, it's those meds and that and the antihistamines and stuff that I was taking for the allergies that I had while I was up in Cincinnati. I probably sound really nasally still. But yeah, no, I had really bad, like itchy eyes. I was sneezing like crazy. And I think it's still in my system because I've been sneezing since I got back from Florida. I'll sneeze like 5-6 times in a row. But yeah, I was having to pull over a lot. Like the first 12 hours of my trip, which should have been like probably 2/3 of my trip, 4/5 of my trip, I spent sleeping and pulling over to sleep. So that was not very Road Warrior like, not very Mad Max like at all. But I got home around 9 o'clock this morning, and it was rough. But it's now 1:15 the next morning, and I've been up looking at the videos and getting ready to put everything together to edit. And I am very sorry for the quality of the stabilization because I forgot to turn the stabilization on my GoPro. So I have the GoPro 11, and it has some very good stabilization on it, and I forgot to turn it on. So while I'm walking around and stuff, like the camera's bouncing everywhere, and so the video is going to be bouncing everywhere, and I apologize for that in advance because I've already watched the video and I'm like, wow, that is so bouncy, especially when I'm in my car with these sport shocks and I'm hitting bumps and stuff. It's like so I apologize for that. But let's go ahead and wrap this up with some final thoughts. I want to show you the stats from the car. Unfortunately, the full stats that were in there, I don't understand exactly how it works because I forgot to reset my trip meter. I forgot to reset it when I first started out on the trip, and I didn't reset it until I was about 150 miles in or so, about 100 miles, 150 miles in. But the car, when you start a trip, it automatically starts a new trip meter, and it had all my stats when I got home. And I took a picture, which I think I should be able to put on I think it's still on my cell phone, I'm not sure. Or maybe I took a video. I don't know. I haven't looked through all the videos yet. But, you know, basically said 15.5 hours of actual driving time. That was the time that I was actually steering, not sleeping. And, yeah, so it had all the stats in there. But then when I went to go take out the car last night to go get some dinner, it was gone. It apparently resets itself. So let's go ahead and look at what I do have for my actual stored trip meter. So, okay. Now you can see this is the trip auto right here. That's the one that records when you go on trips. And I don't know what the prioritization is for that, for starting over or resetting itself. But you can see here, about 100 miles off. I probably drove about 950 miles, getting about 37 kilowatts per 100 miles. Probably drove about 30 minutes more than that because I did drive around some today. So it was about 15.5 hours, average speed of 56 miles per hour. On the highway, I was doing about, it really depended where I was at, to be honest with you. I'm a little more careful in Georgia than I am in other states because the Georgia state troopers are a little more sticklers about the speed. So in Georgia, I was doing about 75 in the 70 mile per hour zones. Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, I was doing 80. So I just, 79, 80. Wasn't really worried about going 10 over in those states. Kentucky nearing Cincinnati, you want to drop down to about 5 over. And in Ohio, in general, 5 over is good in Ohio. Near Cincinnati And north of Cincinnati, you want to go about 5 over. 10 over, they'll pop you sometimes. Not all the time. It just depends on their day, I guess. But thoughts, looking at these stats, yeah, my thoughts on the trip overall. On the way up there, I could have planned it a lot better. I should have followed my PlugShare app more religiously. Now, the car really did not, the Google software didn't really mess me up until I got to Atlanta, because it really will bring you to stations that are not major providers. So like it took me to like a charge point fast charging station that only like was bringing me about 80 kilowatt of charge, and I unwisely thought I could get faster results, and I don't know why I was trying to be faster. This whole trip was just to enjoy it, you know, the whole electric vehicle charging experience, and which is a slow experience. I don't care if you're in a Tesla, which is the fastest way, or if you're in a, you know, Kia EV6, if you're in a Volkswagen 94, you know, what is it, a Kona Ioniq, whatever, a Leaf, whatever you're driving, it's not the fastest way to travel, that's for sure. Now I calculated that this car, the charging time, the actual times to stop and charge, only added about 3.5 hours total. Had to stop about 7 times, roughly averaging 30 minutes per stop. Never, maybe once or twice I went over that, but a lot of times it was under. But averaging about 30 minutes per stop. So, you know, that adds about 3.5 hours of charging time. So it's really not that much. If you think about it, it depends on how much of a road warrior you are. You know, whether you're like really, really holding on to your pee and not stopping, you know, until you really, really have to go at those rest stops, or you're saving it for the gas stations. You don't even use rest stops. But yeah, for me, I'm an old man. You know, I can't hold my pee like I used to. And 3.5 hours of stops probably is what I would have done anyway, to be honest. I found my new favorite gas station, Buc-ee's, you know, on there. And so on my way home, I stopped at Buc-ee's twice, actually, and perused the store. Didn't buy much, but I tried their brisket sandwich. I should have tried, I guess they have these beaver nuggets. Is their big thing, some kind of tasty sweet treat that they have. Beaver nuggets. Yeah, I saw the beaver chips, but I did not see the beaver nuggets. I saw the expensive $33 beef jerky, though. A pound beef jerky. I saw that. But thoughts, I think if I was going to road trip a lot more in an electric vehicle, then would I do it again? Oh, absolutely. I would do it again. But lessons learned is that, one, in a non-Tesla EV, I would only stop at Electrify America charging stations. I got lucky and I found the Florida Power and Light charging station that was actually better than an Electrify America charging station. I've charged at EV Go before, didn't like it. And I'm trying to think what else. ChargePoint usually level 2 chargers, but their fast charger wasn't really up to the task, up to the 150 task, which is the max my car can take. But yeah, if I was going to do it a lot, if I was going to road trip a lot, and if that was like a big thing for me, was to go cross country and, you know, do tons of road trips, stuff like that, I would have a Tesla Model Y for sure. I would recommend to anyone out there watching this video that's even curious about cross country, electric vehicle road tripping, or doing a lot of road trips. Now, that's a caveat, right? Like, so I don't mind, like in this car, like I'll road trip up to St. Augustine, which is about 3 hours away, or I'll go to Jacksonville or Daytona. I'll even go down to Miami. That's about a 4 hour drive. I don't mind road tripping around my state, and heck, I'll even go to Georgia. You know, as far as Tennessee, several hours. But when you're talking about over 10 hours, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours, that's when the whole infrastructure comes into play. And even if you're talking about driving a lot in your hometown, like if you're doing Uber or have to travel a lot for work in a car, you're going to find a lot more Tesla charging stations, and they're in better areas, right? So me taking the trip all the way up from Tampa to Cincinnati and Cincinnati and back, I was pretty much anchored to 75, which Tesla will be too. But I was anchored to Walmart supercenters because that's where all the Electrify America charging stations are. Teslas, they're everywhere. The Tesla superchargers are everywhere. They're in nice places of town, and in fairness, in Tampa too, there are level 2 chargers and in centers of downtowns like Dunedin and stuff like that. They have nice, sort of VIP-ish parking spots. And even in Cincinnati, Findlay Market, they had some level 2 chargers down there. I don't think they had any Tesla chargers like right across the street from Findlay Market. They did have normal chargers right across the street from Findlay Market. So I think in terms of exotic locations, you might have better luck with like level 2 chargers. Places that are like in the middle of downtown and stuff like that, which you can still use your Tesla to charge at too. So there's no advantage to having a non-Tesla car really at this point in the game in terms of infrastructure, because Teslas can charge everywhere that non-Teslas can, with the right adapter. So I think it's just all about what you want, what if you really, really don't like Tesla and you're just like, oh, I can't get a Tesla, I really don't like the way they look, or I don't like the build quality, or there's just so many of them out there, I don't want to be part of the herd, whatever reason, yeah, that's fine, get a non-Tesla. But for right now, at this point in time, if you're going to do long distance road tripping, a lot of driving, and you don't have the availability of a home charger, you're going to be better off getting a Tesla, because there's more Tesla charging, supercharging stations by you than like Electrify America charging stations. There's just more of them. There's way more availability, and there are a lot of people out there that don't have the availability to charge at home. That don't own their house, or even people that are lucky enough to have garages at their apartments. Say they have like their own garage. The garage might not have 240, and the apartment may not allow you to have an electrician come in to wire 240. So you're stuck charging at a public destination. Yeah, Tesla's the way to go. Definitely. For someone like me that has their own garage and can charge at home, this car fits me perfectly, and I don't mind using Electrify America charging stations. And I would recommend that people that don't have Teslas to use the PlugShare app and stick to the Electrify America charging stations, because that is the biggest network out there for non-Tesla cars. And right now they're the most reliable. I had a few issues. I never got stuck, and there was never a point where I couldn't charge. There was never a point where like I had to wait to charge because chargers were broken. So I got lucky there. And yeah, use that PlugShare app, and there's a trip function in there, and then you can just plot your trip straight on through and go from point to point. And that's all I did, is I just just typed in the destination. The address is in the PlugShare app. You just type in that address and you're good to go. And my car has a nice feature where I can actually type in the Google operating system, I can type in Electrify America and then the name of the town, and it'll find it if there's one in that town. So like I would type in Electrify America, Cordell, Georgia, and it would be like, oh yeah, you mean this one at this Walmart Supercenter? Yep, that's the one there. Boom. And then by having it in this car, since the car knows that it's going to a charger, it will precondition the battery. And I don't know exactly what that means. I haven't done the research, but I think that just means warm up the battery if it's cold. So since it was already warm, I don't think that was even necessary. I don't really understand how this whole preconditioning thing works. So I should probably do a little more research and find out. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Long road tripping, tons of driving. Go Tesla. If, you're like, for me, 99% of my driving is going to be around town. Or 95% even, let's say, is going to be around my little bubble in Tampa. And then 5% of the time I might get a hair and go, out of town and stay within Florida. Let's say 4% of the time I would do that. And then the remaining 1% of the time I might leave the state and maybe go up to Georgia or Tennessee, even. But I don't think I would take... It's going to be a long time before I take another trip to Cincinnati in any car, not just an electric car. The time that it took me on my way up and the way down was all my fault. It was not the fault of the car. The car only added 3.5 extra hours. The rest of the time was added by me making mistakes or falling asleep. So it wasn't the car's fault for the length of time that it took. Because my friends were like, oh yeah, see, it took you like 20 hours to drive, man. How about that electric vehicle? And I'm like, dude, it wasn't the car, it was me. I'm an old man. It takes me a long time to drive places now. It ain't like back in the day where I could just drive down to Florida from Ohio, with only stopping to fuel up like twice, and those were my breaks. Was to pee real quick, grab some food, and then eat while driving, and then make it in record time, under 15 hours, But I'm trying to think if there's anything else. PlugShare app, get that. Download that on your phone. Get that, learn how to use it. Look up, different charging stations in your area. And use it. Like when you go to charge, check in, or when you're done charging, just check in, say charge successfully. Because I always check in when I get there, because like after I plug in, I'm like, oh, what can I do now? Oh, let me check in on the PlugShare. And then I forget to check out. So if you can remember to check in and check out, that's the best, obviously, because then it lets other PlugShare users know, hey, this charger is being used, so forth and so on. But I never remember. So lately I've just been using it like right before I'm getting ready to leave and saying, hey, I charged successfully. Charger, number 4 was good. Got 150 kilowatts. Worked. And then if there was another charger that I used that didn't work or wasn't working properly, I would notate that in there as well. It's just all about helping each other out. That's all it is. I don't know if Tesla has something similar, but yeah, you can do that. And then just enjoy the ride. Enjoy it. It's going to take a little more time. And, figure out things to do when you're during that 30-minute charge that you want to do. For me, it was walking into Walmart and going pee and getting another bottle of water and then walking back and then playing on my phone for like 10 minutes. And by then, all that was like 30 minutes right there. But you can listen to a book. I got Audible on my phone, or the car actually has an Audible app, but it's kind of pointless. I would just use it on my phone. I wouldn't use it in the car. And just try and figure out new ways to kill time or be productive with that time, if you so choose. and enjoy the ride. This is definitely the future. Electric vehicles are definitely the future, and it's just going to get to a point to where, you know, they're going to charge so fast and the range is going to be so good that people are going to ditch their combustion vehicles for them, because it's eventually they're going to be superior. They're going to go further. They're going to charge faster, you know. I mean, even if it takes like 5 minutes, but yet you get a 500-mile range out of it, that's pretty tempting, you know, for someone that has a combustion vehicle that goes maybe, you know, 300 to 400 miles. Obviously, you diesel pushers out there getting like 500 miles, but yeah, it was a good time. I had a good time traveling, other than this falling asleep part. The way back was kind of hellish. The way up there was a lot of fun. The way back was kind of hellish for me, to be honest. But yeah, I think what else we got? Hmm. I was a little disappointed that there wasn't more people at the charging stations when I was there. Like, I thought I was gonna have this whole like community thing of like, oh hey, what's up, dude? Oh yeah, nice car, man. Oh, what is that? The ID4? How do you like that? You know, or is that the Porsche Taycan, man? How's that working out for you? How fast is, you know, like little conversation with people. No one's interested. No one's interested, and for the most part, I was the only one at the charging station a lot of times, just because of the time of day that I was driving. But even while I was there, most people just sit in their cars and charge. It's pretty lame. They just sit in their cars. No, I stood outside of mine because I was vaping anyways, and which I'm quitting. I am quitting that. But I stood outside of my car and just kind of, you know, played on my phone, looked around, and there were a few people that I talked to, maybe like two or three, but that was it out of all the times that I charged. I stopped 14 times, so there wasn't really much conversation happening. But overall, had a great time. Would do it again, but not anytime soon. Just because I don't really want to drive more than 4 hours anymore. I just don't want to do it. 4 hours is like my max now. Like, you know, 4 hours with the charge in there, that's fine. But, you know, 15-hour drive, no thanks. Mm-mm. As much as I hate flying, I'd rather just fly and, you know, do it in 2 hours. So, but for you road warriors out there, it's there for you. It's waiting. It's waiting to be taken. Go get it. All right, I think that's all the thoughts I have for now. Any tips on the Polestar specifically? Um, Now, obviously, you know that um, in any car, your speed is going to affect your range, right? So the faster you go, the faster the juice gets sucked out of the car, right? So I got to a point. I got to a point during my trip back that it was when it was telling me I had 11%, that I was going to arrive at 11%, and it's very rare that the Polestar miscalculates, but I ended up getting there at 8% instead, so it miscalculated by 3%, and I don't know if that was due to me accelerating quick a few times to pass some trucks or whatever, because it can't forecast that, right? It can't forecast, like, you know, trying to, you know, get over, or you know, trying to get past people, stuff like that. It might be able to say, hey, you know, you've been driving at an average of 75 miles an hour, and if you keep driving that fast, this is the range that you should arrive at. And it does kind of recalculate along the way, right? If you're, the closer you get, the more accurate it's going to be. But yeah, I was when it said I had 11%. I was going to ride with 11%, and I was kind of already like, this is a little sketchy. I don't like it. But my car actually dropped down to, I think it was like 10%. I was on the highway, and I dropped At 10% it goes red, and it starts to reduce your max power. It starts to begin that process of closing that vise on the max power that you can put out, which means your speed, your max speed, and your actual passing power goes down. So it got to a point to where I think it got to like 9%. So I reduced my speed from like 75 to 70. And then I saw that little square getting smaller and smaller. So I dropped it down to 60 and I got behind a truck. I started, what do they call that when you're not ghosting, but like in racing, drafting, right? Started drafting this truck, and it was pretty fun. I was going 60, I was drafting this truck, and I drafted him to the exit, which was only a couple miles. I just didn't want to lose power and have some big semi behind me get pissed because I'm not going 70, at least. And so I just did that as a precaution, got off the highway, and I was fine. Got pulled up to the charger at about 8%. So, but at 8%, I wouldn't have been able to maintain a speed of 70 miles for very long. So that would have been a dangerous situation. Just keep that in mind. I would always try and, in the Polestar, I would always try and arrive at your next destination with at least 20%. That's my tip. That's the main tip, I think, most importantly, is if it tells you, oh, you're ready to go, you'll get there with 10%, no, charge 10% more of that. If it tells you need to charge to 80% before leaving, charge to 90. Have that 20% so that you have a 10% buffer down to the 10%. Because once it hits that 10%, that's when you start getting that reduced power. So make sure that you have 20% cushion every time that you leave a charging station. Make sure that you're always going to have 20% when you get there, because if you get somewhere and you need 10% to get somewhere else, then you have that 10%. But the cool thing about the Google system in here is when you are planning, like if you're leaving your house and you're just going out to a restaurant, it'll tell you like, hey, you're going to get there with 39% and you'll get back home with 21% or whatever. So it does give you that. But if you're on a road trip, and you get somewhere with 20% and say like all the chargers are taken or the chargers are broken, at least you have that 10% to try and get somewhere else. So that's just my tip. Take it or leave it. All right, I think we're gonna end this section and possibly the whole video. We'll see if we need to add any more, but thanks for watching. In case this is the last segment, thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good time with me. I'm tired. I think I'm gonna hit the rack. It's been a long day, and American Jedi signing out.